everyone, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I am back with another energetically channeled, much requested royal video. Now this video is on the young Princess Kate. I call her young because she's a mother of three. She's just stepping into her power based on her birth date, and she suddenly disappeared from the public limelight, public stage in the UK December of 2023. What happened to her? Where did she go? This was a very public young woman with three very rambunctious kids, and she just basically stopped showing up publicly, stopped showing up with her husband, stopped showing up everywhere. And then just as suddenly popped into the public eye June 15th of 2024. But there's a 6-month time frame, and what happened to her? Now the speculation around the world was crazy. She was a clone, she was kidnapped, she was murdered, she got a facelift, she died in surgery, this, that, and the other. Even after the royal spokespeople tried to use her body double, a woman named Heidi, who's publicly known since 2012, and they tried to put old pictures of Princess Kate into magazine stories to make it look like she's still here. What really happened to her? Where did she go? The public caught on to it every single time, which I found really funny, because I'm sure back in the day we didn't catch half the stuff that was going on, but the technology right now is so strong we can actually find it. So what happened to Princess Kate? Is she alive? Is she not alive? Was the cancer diagnosis real? King Charles diagnosed at the same time, and subsequently just right after, by about a month, Princess Kate diagnosed with the same illness, different part of the body. So I looked at the chart, January 9th, 1982. She is a Capricorn sun, a Leo rising, and a Cancer moon. Fits perfectly within the royal context. Capricorn is known to really achieve their goals later on in life with a traditional value system. Leo rising is Leo rising. It is what it is. And the Cancer moon can be very nurturing, very kind, but it is in opposition to the sun, which is kind of interesting because it's a thwarting kind of energy. So whenever you have the sun and the moon, sun, the parental aspect, as in the strength of the male partner if you're female, and moon, your feminine emotional energy, this is in conflict. It's in opposition. So they have two different parenting styles, which is interesting. She would probably have to acquiesce because she married into the royal family, being fully well aware of what she was marrying into. Now, with the moon in Cancer conjunct the North Node, conjuncting the 12th house, meaning married to those areas in the chart, just for lack of a better word, they travel in tandem. With that energy right there, immediately I'm drawn to the mother's ancestry, not Kate's, her mother's. So the maternal side of the family is what she's dealing with in a very karmic way. This is the way that she's responding to her environment and how she ended up in the royal family. Karma and the facilitating through the maternal or the mother's side of the family. Now, her Mars, Saturn, and Pluto are all conjunct in the 3rd house. They all live in the 3rd house together. They're all in the sign of Libra. This I found super interesting, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Libra is about learning balance. So she is rebalancing karmic duty, debt, and complete upheaval in this life, in the 3rd house, because it is opposite the 9th house. So when it's in opposition to the 9th house from the 3rd house in respect to a royal family who governs over a particular part of the world, this actually opens it up to change the cycle of that family. And it's very important because Aries is in the 9th house, and her eclipse points, because she was born under a total lunar eclipse, her eclipse points in her chart were activated during the eclipse season this past year, March and April, when it was publicly brought out that the pictures were false, that the diagnosis might not be right, that it was right, that we don't know what's happening. So it's completely in tandem with her chart that she is starting a new royal cycle. I found that very interesting because they often forge their way in life. When you have Mars, Saturn, and Pluto in the 3rd in opposition to the 9th, when those points are triggered in the chart, she will be the one who's starting the new family cycle, or the new, I guess, family response. And it can be very difficult for a person to deal with, because they have to go against the pre-established norms of that family unit, in this case, the royal family. And they call themselves a family, but they are a corporation, they are a business, they are a highly woven political instrument for that part of the world. So Princess Kate disappearing is a huge event. Like, it's huge. It isn't even, I mean, it could be like a president disappearing, but not quite. It's even stronger than that. So Princess Kate and her stepping out of the public spotlight, either of her own volition or coercion from someone else, was really quite interesting and something that I had to look into. So energetically, I started to pick up on a lot of the aspects around her that were going on. So let me start with the first thing. This was a really unusual concept for my mind to grasp, because it doesn't make sense to me and I don't understand why I'm saying it, but I'm speaking metaphysically. And for those that watch these videos and think that people who speak like this are out in left fields, bit crazy, whatever, they're not taking into the account that what we see here on Earth is not the only thing that exists. Eventually, we all move on from this dimension, this place, this planet. And what happens then? Because it's not the end of everything. Things happen in other forms. So that's what I'm talking about here. So when I'm talking about this and the disappearance of Princess Kate, I want to start going back into the early 1900s. Probably actually started in the 1800s, but I'm going to bring up the Kennedy family, and I'm going to bring up an actress named Frances Farmer. Both of these families, people in these families, in these names that we recognize from history, okay, both political history and public stage history, actress, had partaked in things called lobotomies at that time frame, where this was a medical procedure, in the Kennedy's case, with one of the children, to help curb her wild streak. I can't think of anything worse. Independent, beautiful mind, and then you're forced into the mind of a child because you are brain damaged basically by a lobotomy. Frances Farmer, actress, loved to party, loved to drink, was a woman's man, or a man's woman, however you say that. And the studios wanted to control her, so they lobotomized her. Yeah, that's a lot of control. Anyway, these people never responded the same way ever again, because their way that they thought and their essence of their consciousness was altered, shifted, changed. Now, consciousness differs from soul energy. So we are in a human body. I just want to explain this briefly. We are in a human body, a host body, a host, a house. Our soul is kind of poured in to the physical here, whatever form that takes, whatever color your skin is, we all revert back to soul. So there really is no anything that we deal with on earth, like you're this color, I'm that color, you're male, you're female, none of that. We are soul, okay, which is past all of that. Hard to understand, but it's past all of that. So when you internally look at someone's physical body, you see however it is they genetically come through in a logical, scientific way. The consciousness is the understanding of placement on the planet. So where are you on this planet? Do you understand the concept of the way the world is run? Do you think differently than that? Do you feel that you know everything? Are you a scientist who doesn't have a belief in God? Are you God-centered and don't believe in science? Are you somewhere in the middle? Where are you? Do you believe that what's being taught to us on the planet? These are all consciousness. How conscious are you? Do you, for example, back in the 20s, people smoked cigarettes. They didn't think anything of it. Everybody smoked. There's no harm. It's, whatever it was being sold as. Is your consciousness level now understanding that that causes detrimental health to your physical body? Or is your consciousness such that you don't think it's going to happen to you, or It's not part of your problem. That's an understanding. So consciousness is an environmental understanding of how your soul is operating in this lifetime within the context of the house that you live in, i.e. the physical body, the shell, the meat suit, whatever people are calling it these days, the DNA structure in which you were born. So there is an understanding. Let me give you another example before I go forward with this. If you look at little children, they love Santa. They believe in Santa. They think that some fat white guy from the North Pole is aware of whether you're good or bad, crams through your chimney, but he's fat, eats cookies, drinks milk, all of that. So he comes through your chimney. If you don't have a chimney, he comes through your window. If you don't have a window, he comes through the key lock in the door. There's a certain level of consciousness that is missing or not advanced in order for you to believe that those statements. So little kids, of course, are prime examples because they don't know any better. They're like, yeah, it could happen because there's a tree and then presents show up and we leave cookies and someone eats them. That's as far as their consciousness can articulate what's going on. When they hit first grade, someone tells them, or they are logical. There's some smart little kids that are like, yeah, right. And they get yelled at by everybody in the family. So no one, they don't question it again. It's peer pressure to shut up and believe in Santa, right? So at a certain point, other people become very aware that Santa can't do that. And who is Santa? And why would he know what you're doing when there's billions of people on the earth? That is a raising of consciousness in the most mundane way I can explain it. So let's go back to Princess Kate, now that I've bored you with that. So inside our physical body is a soul. The soul is who we are over just every experience we've had to our existence at any point or place in time, on any level, dimension, spirit world, earth world, other planetary, however you describe that. Consciousness is your understanding of your circumstances and your memories and your experiences that pertain to this particular lifetime. And in theory, as we go throughout the lifetimes, we build in consciousness because of experiences here. So we can be very tribal, we can be very humanitarian. It depends on what we experience. Princess Kate, assumedly, would be very humanitarian. She would also be very savvy in a consciousness level because she's in a royal family. So let me go right into what I picked up. So her consciousness, not her physical body, but her consciousness was altered. And what I mean by that, and it's kind of horrifying, but what I mean by that is, instead of performing a surgery like a lobotomy on her, which could have also been done, but I get that she was removed because of what she knew. And when I say removed, I'm speaking only in the sense of consciousness, not physicality. So I get a removing of the consciousness, the way that she thinks, what she knew formerly to going in the hospital to what she knows now, to how she spoke then, to how she speaks now. Because I was asked a multitude of times during live streaming if she was still alive, and I could not pick up on that energy. I could not tie into that energy. And it was very strange because I'm like, she's a public figure. I should be able to pick up on her energy because their auras are so big and they're projected, they're public figures. Okay, there's a lot of things that go into that. There's who the person is. There's I'm going to use the word, the spells that are cast on an energetic level over the public. These can be glamour spells. These can be why people look at a particular world figure and find them attractive when it's clear that they're not, or I'm not speaking about her, or that they perceive the person as good and caring for them when they can't possibly even know who the hell you are. So there's a lot that goes into the conjuring of consciousness of the public people, us, the commoners, as they say in England. I'm sorry, I just thought I'd throw that in there. The commoners, the peasants that walk around on the planet. There's a lot, sorry, it just struck me as funny. There's a lot that goes into convincing us that we need to see them in an elevated position. That is a consciousness spell directed at the people. If we do this, this, and this, they will believe like little kids believe in Santa Claus. And it is exactly that. Until your consciousness kind of shifts and you see it differently, which I think is happening all over the world in every single country, not just theirs. But what happened to Kate? So let me get into what I picked up. So let's go to her husband, Prince William. Double Cancer, also born during a lunar eclipse, Sag rising. That's as far as I went in his chart. Anyway, Prince William, and this was found out by Princess Kate. Prince William has been doing business deals, and she became informed about this through a royal ally within the context of the royal family, another female. And of course, in order to keep that information down here so that Princess Kate could expose it later on or circumvent it so that it didn't cause political injustice and problem, is she had to be an enemy with the person that was bringing her information from the other side within the family. You know how families split and they're like, you could have a sister-in-law, you could have a sister, mother-in-law, and somebody's doing something. Well, after Queen Elizabeth died, this is when this started. Prince William, it's actually about 2.5 years ago. I don't know when she died. I can't remember when Queen Elizabeth died, but it's been in the last 2 years. Prince William started doing what I call double dealing. So the British royal family has their agenda for their country and their people and everything else. He started going into the Middle East. This is what I'm picked up. He started going into the Middle East and double dealing. Double agent is the wording I heard. Double business dealing, double agent. Who was he talking to there? Which country? A Middle Eastern country. I have no idea which country it is, but I see behind the curtain country. So it's a country that we probably are not particularly friendly with. He is doing communication. He is talking behind the scenes. He is securing himself a financial and powerful position by doing these business deals. There is something going on where the British royal family is under attack from behind the scenes, where they want to take the power of the royals away. Prince William knows this, and he has left his country. He has turned over information over here to this Middle Eastern country. He has stepped aside. And I kind of feel a little bit like his mother may have understood what I'm talking about if she was alive. Well, she was alive back then, but she kind of understood where the British royal family was going, and they've been trying to steer it back. Prince William has stepped out of his responsibility and gone to this country, I'm going to say Middle East again, and basically signed the papers to protect himself when it all goes down with the British royal family. There is a powerful allegiance to take this royal family out of power, an overthrowing of the family. Prince William has jumped into a position of self-preservation and power and control over here. There are papers being exchanged. There are phone calls. There are trips. There is a concerted effort to remove himself from family duty over here and push himself over here to the new ruler. Now I'm just going to like kind of section this back. So as I'm looking at this, I'm like, why that? Because that's like going to cause a huge rift, if not some kind of crazy shit going on in the world. My understanding of it is there is somebody in the Middle East. I don't know which country. Okay. I didn't get that, but there is someone in the Middle East, male person, who is going to rise into power. This person is going to rise into power over there, taking over several governments in that part of the world. And I don't know how that happens. I have no idea, but that's what I pick up on. And as that's happening, that person is going to move forward into Western countries, this hemisphere, and over into the UK. And it's systematically going to be understood that we are now going in one direction under one rulership, not a bunch of little rulerships. We all have our own countries. We all have our own political parties. We all have this, that, and the other. Even though the US borders Mexico and Canada, each and every part of that has its own different group of people who govern over those countries. This is not the way of the future. And I'm sure I'm talking like within the next 15 years, but I'm going to say the next 2.5 years that Prince William's agenda is going to come front and center. Going forward 2.5 years. I go forward to the end of this year, end of November, Thanksgiving time frame for us, all the way through to December, when it is found out what Prince William has in mind, what he's been doing, the information over here being transferred over there for their power. Now, their power gain came under the attention of Princess Kate. She overheard, saw, and documented intellectually what she got. She is now speaking over here about it, trying to block it because she actually honestly feels it's detrimental. At the same time, we have the media throwing this Rose Hanbury woman that Prince William is having an affair with, and that explains why Kate needs a mental health break. I'm rolling my eyes at that because anybody married to a man in a position of power knows that men in positions of power, I mean, this is expected, okay? He is his father's son. So we expect this, and it's not like that's unknown. It's unfair, it's cruel, it's unkind. But I think Princess Kate is not having a mental breakdown because Prince William is having an affair with Rose Hanbury, among many others, okay? I don't think that that's like a bone of contention with her. She may not like the woman, she may not like that it's public, but the media threw it out there publicly to distract the public from digging into what was really going on. Princess Kate was whisked away for illness, okay? For illness. Now, here's what I get with that. I get her not feeling well in her stomach. So I literally get that she didn't feel well in her stomach. So the illness diagnosis can very well be happening at the same time that these other things are happening. And while she is in seclusion, in a private setting that doesn't quite strike me like a hospital, but in the private setting, there are elements of her consciousness being removed so that she misremembers what she remembered, what she saw, how she felt, the paperwork that she saw, the phone call that she overheard, the photographs that she took, because I literally get she took photographs. Her husband, she saw him as duplicitous, not for the affairs, but for the work that he was doing, the work over here, and then the work over there in the Middle East, and the information going from here to there, okay, like a pipeline back and forth, double agent. Just think of Russian spy double agent, exactly that. What we read about it. So I see the double work of Prince William going against his family. I see her knowledge and understanding of that being removed on a consciousness level. So I don't know if they triggered her memory to like break down or what they did, but there's a consciousness removal. So when Princess Kate comes back, the reason that she doesn't feel solid to me is because part of who she is no longer instilled within the genetic coding of her physical body, consciousness. And I'm not even sure she's aware of it. There is a different feel to her. There is a different texture to her. There is a different way that she looks. There is a different way that she expresses herself. So when I'm looking at that, I'm like, no, this is not the same consciousness. It's almost like saying when you have a very vibrant, outspoken person and they talk to you, they communicate, they do all kinds of things. And then you see them again and they're withdrawn, subdued, and they're kind of behind the scenes. Why is it so different? Why is it like this over here and so different over here? It's exactly that. The consciousness is missing. So the consciousness is the equation of experiences over lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And it is also the understanding that those consequences lead to, and actions and experiences lead to certain assumptions and knowledge, which kind of elevates you to think differently. A little kid isn't aware of cars on the street. We have to keep telling them, look both ways, don't run out in the street, don't run across the street, because cars go up and down the street. And that's very hard for little kids to understand. By the time you're like 20, you're like, don't run out in the street. Like, you get it. Your consciousness is raised to understand your environment. Hers has been dumbed down so that she only understands the environment that they want her to see. This is the problem right now. The illness, I do get that there was an illness, but I don't think that that's the specific reason she disappeared. I feel like they used the illness in order to remove part of the consciousness. And this is what I've been talking about for years and years and years. The consciousness stealing of people, the way that groups of people think and what they think is acceptable, just fundamentally, morally, ethically, the consciousness is changing. What you think you will do versus what people thought they would do in the same circumstance 30 years ago. It's changing. They are removing. Now let's look at Princess Kate from a family position. So I believe it's her mother, the maternal side of the family, that the karma is coming from. So this is the ancestral karma of Kate Middleton's mother, that side of the family, not the father's. I'm sure there's karma with both, but sometimes children come in to live out the karma of one side or the other. So Kate Middleton's mother, this is the karmic connection from the most recent past life. And I'm just going to say this, Kate Middleton ruled in a past life, okay? She was a ruler. She was a ruler. And it was extremely difficult for her to do so because she was removed. And that's so weird. But the removing of her from that lifetime brought her to this lifetime and put her right in the middle of it again. And I'm not sure she wanted to or not. I kind of feel reluctance to it, but an understanding that there's a karmic responsibility coming from the ancestors on the mother's side. That's the best way I could word it. So Kate Middleton at this point is going to appear so much differently than we have seen her in the past, the way that she looks, the way that she responds. She still looks like herself, but different, if that makes sense. It's kind of like when you see somebody pregnant at first and they have that glow and you're like, why are they so glowy or dewy or so beautiful looking, radiant? Because they have another life in them. So the consciousness is changing. This is what happened with Kate. Now, Kate comes from an elite family. Don't mean a royal family. I mean a family that practices a particular kind of belief system. So she would have already had a very compartmentalized way of seeing the world. So it is not so hard to realize, because they are far more advanced than we even understand scientifically, how to remove a program from her thinking that she has built up through her experience. This is what keeps us stuck. This is a way that they keep us stuck. So there is a certain hive mind. And I thought it was very funny when they put her in the beekeeper and tried to tell us that this was her hobby, even though I can't recall seeing her in many beekeeper outfits. But it is the hive mindset. That is the consciousness they want us to have. And hers was stepping away from. Now, Prince William is a double agent, and this is the agenda being pushed here. Half of the royal family is wanting this. The other thing with Prince William is, as we're heading towards the end of the year, it's actually around the end of August, there will be rumblings of his double dealing and business. And between December and into next year, 2025, but in particular 2027, Prince William will be shouted out as there is a power struggle for the royal control, the monarchy, the control of the royal family. That's why you keep reading reports that King Charles and his wife are not doing their work. The next target out of the royal family is Princess Anne, because love her, hate her, I don't really know much about her, except she's a horsewoman, which is British. But other than that, they're going to go after her because she's trying to uphold the royal family, and they need her removed in order to move forward with their agenda. So all of these things are kind of happening like dominoes to the royal family, which will be out of power in the way that we know it to control, probably in early 3032, because the Middle Eastern leader person being brought up into power, okay, male, is the one that everybody is going to think, yes, this is right. End world hunger. Everybody loves everybody. No more wars. It is a trick. It is a trick. I promise you it's a trick. Prince William is already in communication because he wants his position of power in that cabinet of ruling people, which has not come into power yet. So it's this whole undercurrent of stuff that's going on, and there'll be a huge eruption and this public information. And Kate will stand by her man because she doesn't remember what she found out about him. Also, the other thing I picked up, which is really weird, Kate and Meghan Markle are actually friends, but don't want anybody to know that. That's a weird thing to say. Meghan Markle is in her position. I'm not saying she's not a narcissist or an asshole or whatever people say about her, but she is in her position because she chose that position when she's alive in this life as a distraction. Remember, it's bait and switch and distraction. This is what I'm seeing in this particular instance. So when I see Princess Kate, I see the removal of her consciousness. So the level of understanding that she had in her day-to-day life and within her marriage and within the context of the royal family, that's been removed. So we're basically starting with a clean slate, and we can fill that slate up with information that we want. Much like they say, you can educate a child. That's why they go into school, so that the school system can put the information that they want to indoctrinate the child with, learn from. That's what I'm seeing is going on with Kate Middleton. So that's my video on Princess Kate and why she disappeared. It's a stealing of consciousness for the overthrow of the royal family. And Kate was a blocker. She stands up with loyalty and integrity, and she was aware of what her husband was up to with the Middle East. Anyway, that is my video on Princess Kate. And once again, my name is Sloan from SloanBella.com.